This year, our exclusive investigation of the LA County Metropolitan Transit Authority led to improvements in the way the MTA serves its disabled passengers in wheelchairs.
Well, tonight, our colleague David Ono joins us now with another exclusive MTA investigation. David?
Well, brace yourself. This is a bit of a shocker. This story of a blind man named Cameron Cuthbertson who died in a tragic rail incident. His family has filed a lawsuit accusing the MTA of negligence. This story is disturbing, and we warn you, so is some of the video.
When I think about the last moments of his life is what is the worst part.
Mary Cuthbertson doesn't want her son Cameron's death to be in vain.
I just hope that this will make a change in safety for all people, especially handicapped people.
48-year-old Cameron Cuthbertson was blind, but worked hard to maintain his independence. He was trying to board the MTA Blue Line in January when he mistook the gap between the rail cars for the door.
Because he was blind, he couldn't distinguish between the two. And unfortunately, when his cane found an opening, he stepped forward, fell down in between the cars and onto the tracks.
This witness to Cameron's death did not want to be identified.
We heard him screaming. Everyone heard it in the car. It was like surrounding us.
Eyewitness News obtained this MTA video. This is Cameron Cuthbertson falling into the gap between two of the rail cars. There was no barrier to prevent it. And from this angle, you could see what happens as the train begins to pull away.
He is trying to pull himself out from the tracks onto the platform. The train begins to move, and it essentially severs his body in half.
Passengers on board hear Cameron screaming for help, but it's too late.
I can't imagine what he was thinking, when he heard the doors close above him.
Cameron's death could have been prevented. The California Council of the Blind has been pushing the MTA to install barriers like these for years.
This should have been done years ago.
The California Council of the Blind expressed its disappointment with the MTA over Cameron's tragic and preventable death.
It makes me sad. I believe it was unnecessary.
But I miss growing old with him. I never thought that, his life would end like this.
The MTA's own documents acknowledge that federal law requires the MTA to provide systems that prevent, deter, or warn individuals from inadvertently stepping off the platform between cars. But the MTA says it did not have to comply on the Blue Line because those rail cars were built before the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed. The MTA's Blue Line opened on July 14th of 1990. The Americans with Disabilities Act was signed into law 12 days later.
They knew that there was a problem between the people falling between cars, and they've known that as a safety issue for years and years.
The MTA says it's been trying to find a more comprehensive solution. Last fall, the MTA began testing these yellow platform-based barriers on the Gold Line with hopes of eventually using them on other lines as well. But before the state-mandated testing phase was over, Cameron Cuthbertson was killed.
It's just too bad that somebody's life had to be the price to pay.
The very day of Cameron's death, the MTA sent this letter to state regulators asking them to speed up the approval process. In March, they received permission to install these yellow barriers system-wide.
It's very hard. This is the first time I've been here.
Cameron's mother and brother told us they did not want to sue the MTA, but felt it was the only way to ensure this kind of death wouldn't happen again.
Because if we all just took a little more time to help one another, especially those people that are handicapped, it'll make the world, I think, a much better place.
Well, the MTA denied a request for an on-camera interview because the case is the subject of a lawsuit. They responded to some questions in writing, saying their numerous attempts to install barriers were hampered by the state's regulatory red tape. Now, if you'd like to read their entire statement, you can log on to our website, abc7.com. Mark, Michelle, back to you.
What a tragedy. David, thank you. A North